Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sprott School of Business Open House here November 6th in Ottawa. Thank you all for joining us. I see that we've got quite a few people in the session, and I do want to just point out really quickly that there's a Q&A button and a chat button. If you have any questions, pop them in there and we'll get to them as we go through the presentation. I'll introduce myself. I'm Howard Nemeroff. I'm the Associate Dean here at the Sprott School of Business in charge of both the Bachelor of Commerce and the Bachelor of International Business. I'm going to show you around 4 or 5 slides worth of a presentation walking you through whom we are and what we do. And then hopefully immediately afterward, we can get into some questions. Then I'm going to send you all over to our 2 rooms where we have students and other faculty and staff waiting to talk to you about perhaps some of the questions you might have that didn't get answered in this particular session. So with that, if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to switch over to, I believe it's this one here, to this screen, and hopefully everybody can see this. We'll just give it a second to warm up. And there we go. Hopefully you're all seeing Sprott School of Business undergraduate programs to the left of your screen, or at least to the left of my screen is where it is. Excellent. So again, welcome. As I mentioned, I'm Howard Nemeroff. I'm the Associate Dean here at the Sprott School of Business, but I also happen to be a finance professor, and I teach courses within the finance area at both the undergrad and master's and PhD levels, at all 3 levels, actually. So I guess my main focus, obviously, is at the undergrad program side, where I oversee how both the BCom and the BIB progress. What I'd like to do is take you through, as I mentioned, take you through the program itself by starting off and introducing you to, potentially, for all of you who will be joining us in September, your new home. This is, believe it or not, our new building, which we opened up literally 3 months ago. We all moved in August 20-something. And classes started this September in the new building. Our offices are in the new building. All of our support offices, from faculty and staff and student services, are all in this singular building. It's gorgeous. It really sends a strong message about what we think business education is all about in the 21st century, as we near a quarter of the way into the 21st century already. And as I'll take you on the next slide and bring you inside the building to show you a couple of shots of the inside, I want to very quickly mention that the basic design of this building is all about space, and it's all about openness and air and the freedom to move around and interact and collaborate and engage and network. Because when you come into a business school and when you come into a business environment, it's all about being in an environment where you can share resources, you can collaborate together, you can build something better than you can do on your own. And that's the purpose of the school, the setup of the school, the design of the building, and the reason why we teach the way we teach. So I'm going to take you into the building now. Notice, by the way, and I should mention this, I don't know if you can see it on your screens because it is a little bit small on mine, but as you're looking at this building, we are looking at it from what will soon be the quad. That will one of these days hopefully be grassed over. It was just for construction and everything. They were getting it all set up. As you look to the right of the building, you'll see, if you can, there's a road with a couple of white cars on it. And just beyond that, we have you'll see a green fence. They're actually working on the light rail transit, in Ottawa right now, that connects the airport to downtown and then points east and west. That's where the train will be letting you off. Okay, so the train lets you off right there where that first white car is. You walk across the street to our building and then right into the main space and then onto whatever classes you may have. Let me take you inside now and show you, if you're looking at that top picture on the right of your screen, so the picture on the top right, those windows that you see in the front, that's what we were looking at from 2 seconds ago. So we were outside there 2 seconds ago looking in. You'll notice these gorgeous staircases that wind all the way up But more importantly, when you walk in on that main floor, look at how open that space is. Just as you walk in, immediately to your left is a Bridgehead coffee house, amazing coffee, amazing sandwiches, an amazing space to just get a quick bite or just refresh with a cup of coffee or tea or whatever. And then you come into that main area where there will be staff, faculty, other students, other professors from other faculties walking through, getting a Bridgehead, so on and so forth, all sitting on those tables down below, all collaborating in that share space, all getting to know each other, and perhaps seeing what ideas you might be working on, what problems you might have with regard to some of your classes, breakout rooms and such all over. If you look at the shot right below that, you'll see a picture. This is now on the second floor. You'll see a picture of a couple of the breakout rooms that you could actually, as students, participate in. So if you're planning on a presentation with some other classmates and you want to work out some things, or if you're in between classes and you need to do a quick study with some buddies, pop into those rooms and you have access. Obviously, COVID makes it a little bit tricky to deal with in terms of who's allowed where, but we are, as you all know, slowly opening up and slowly giving everybody more and more access to the space, and allowing social distancing to become less and less and less strict. But that will, with time, come. So, as I mentioned, it was opened in the fall. Spaces for experiential learning, all sorts of elements like that. The Bridgehead Coffee House I mentioned. A fellow by the name of Wes Nickel, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, gave us a monstrous donation to help support the start of the construction of the building. We've named the building after him. Wes was a real estate developer and entrepreneur in Ottawa, hugely supportive of the business school and of Carleton in general. And as such, his namesake remains with us on the building. And we're very excited about that, and very excited about having the family supporting us as well. I'll talk a little bit about high flex, because you'll see the second bullet there, high flex classrooms. And some of you might be saying, what the heck is high flex? What we're trying to do, obviously, during the pandemic, it's been very difficult in getting an understanding of how to best engage. How do you run a class? And you're all seeing this in high school, right? How do you run a class where, if you're not in the physical class, where are you and whom are you connecting with and how are you connecting? And how does the teacher know whether you are indeed understanding the material that he or she just put up? How are you able to convey to your classmates that you're understanding this, or to your teacher that you have a question, or whatever it might be, if you're not in the classroom? Well, sometimes when you're not in the classroom, you get lost. You get stuck in the back. You're in Zoom. Nobody sees you. It's a big screen and it's hard to get noticed. High flex creates an environment that allows for people to be either in the class physically or in another room physically, all synchronous. So there could very well be 2, 3, 4 classrooms that we have not only throughout the campus, but perhaps throughout the country, where individuals can be in those select rooms and actually participate in a live lecture all at the same time, so that everybody is participating live in a singular lecture. And individuals perhaps in India, or individuals perhaps in Shanghai or in Vancouver, or wherever the case may be, will be participating in that live class. So it's a really neat, new, innovative way to think about how a classroom can interact and how students can actually interact. So I wanted to make that mention. And let me just quickly jump to the next slide. Now, before we actually get into this next slide, just to kind of get a sense of where everybody's from, I'm wondering, Spencer, if you can pop up that poll that just asks where everybody actually is today. I think it takes a couple of seconds for the poll to originate, but it'd be interesting to get a sense of where everybody is coming from and where everybody's joining us from. And you'll notice that we have Ontario, outside of Ontario, and then perhaps China, India, the UAE, or other international. Curious to see where everybody's from, and maybe we can get a sense of that. And then perhaps in the chats later on, we can start to connect. Again, the key here, I mentioned it a couple of slides ago: networking, collaboration, all that sort of environmental, getting involved, getting together, getting to know each other is critical to the structure of the business school. So thanks, Spencer, for posting that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the BCom and the BIB, and then in a couple of minutes, we'll post another poll, maybe in between these two slides, and I'll ask Spencer to pop that up for me in a few minutes. So the Bachelor of Commerce. We have, as I mentioned before, we've got 2 programs within the Sprott School of Business at the undergrad level. We have a Bachelor of Commerce honors, and we have a Bachelor of International Business honors. Both of these are core business courses. One of them focuses on the international aspects of business for the most part, and the other incorporates not only the international, but basic fundamental areas of business. So there's some slight differences between the two, but both of them give you access to the core business fundamentals. One of them, just as you can imagine, Bachelor of International Business, has more of a focus on the international business element. Let me take you through these 2 very quickly. And if we talk about the Bachelor of Commerce, here's where it starts to get interesting. You come into our program, and in your first year, you're taking business courses right off the gate, right off the bat. So right out of the starting gate, you're taking business courses along with other courses outside of the business school that happen to support your business education. For example, math for business, econ for business, psychology for business, sociology for business, so on and so forth. I see there's you know what, Kopal, that's an excellent question that I'm going to be addressing in this next conversation. So just hang on for 2 seconds and it will be answered. We have, in your first 2 years, access to not only business courses in your first year, but then in your second year, you start to take courses that are introductory to those red concentrations that you see below. So you will start to take introductory accounting, introductory finance, introductory management, introductory marketing, so on and so forth in your second year to get a really good sense of what it is that you are most interested in. To Kopal's question, does putting a concentration on my application give me a disadvantage relative to perhaps choosing something that I might want? And here's the beauty of the way our program is structured. You can choose any concentration you want on your application. I don't care. Anyone you want, or none at all. And then when you actually come to campus and in your first semester, your second semester, third semester, and fourth semester, start to get exposed to all of these, you then come on down to the 3rd floor in the Nickel building, walk into the undergraduate advising office and say, on my application when I signed up, I chose accounting, but I've taken all of these courses over the past 2 years. I really want to do marketing instead. That seems to be most exciting to me. Seamless transition. All you need to do is just come in, fill out a form, and on you go straight into marketing after your second year, after you've been exposed to everything. It gets trickier after your second year and you start to get into third year courses, because then once you're taking third year courses, for example, if you chose marketing as your concentration after second year, in third year, you start to take marketing courses. Well, if then you want to switch again, you might have to take a couple of steps backwards. However, first and second year, every single one of you will be taking all of the same courses, perhaps an elective here or there that will be different, but all of the other business courses will be the same. Therefore, when you switch over, or if you choose to switch over after second year, you're not behind in any way, shape, or form. The other thing I want to stress as well is that there is no cap to how many students are allowed into any one of these concentrations. It doesn't go by grades in second year. So once you're in the business school, you're in the business school, and you can freely move between any of our concentrations without worrying about any caps. So speaking to an advisor, speaking to a career counselor or career coordinator, and getting a sense of what it is you like, what it is you want to do, making that decision, no rush. As I said, choose a concentration if you like on the UAC application, or don't. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's the beauty of, I think, those first 2 years in terms of getting access to all of these. So you have up to two concentrations that you can choose. You can choose to do 2. Alternatively, what you can do is you can say, I don't want to do any concentrations, or I just want to do 1. And as I said, that's totally up to you. There exists a co-op option, which means that you can, after your second year of studies, go out on co-op for 3 terms, and you would manage when those terms are. It doesn't have to be one after the other, or only summers. It could be whenever you have the best opportunities. There's a study abroad option, which means you don't have to go abroad, but you can. And then there's a minor that you could actually pursue in another subject. So for example, suppose you were choosing finance as your concentration and you wanted to support that with perhaps math or economics. Since those are outside, math and economics are outside of the business faculty, that would be a minor. You would take courses to support that minor from outside the faculty and complement your concentration within the faculty. So those are your options there. The box on the right of your screen talks about our employment numbers after 1 year after graduation, which, as you can see, is 93%, which is pretty solid. And I want to make mention of the admission requirements just so that everybody knows what you should be lining yourself up for. Normal admission process based on grades and grades alone is as follows: 4U English or equivalent, advanced functions or equivalent, and calculus and vectors or equivalent. Some of you may not have access to calculus and vectors. That's okay. You do have access to a potential conditional acceptance pathway. And you'll notice that first parenthetical option down below is what we refer to as the Math 0009 option. Students who do not have calculus but have the grades, so they've got 4U English, you've got advanced functions, you don't have calculus, your grades are at the level that are required for admission, but you're missing calculus, you may be granted a conditional acceptance. If you apply, granted a conditional acceptance that says in your first semester, along with your commerce courses that we would give you access to, you will also take the equivalent of a high school calculus that we offer in-house. If you pass that high school calculus in-house in your first semester, January, on you go like nothing happened, and you become a full-fledged Sprott student, continuing on with the courses that you would have already started in September. Alternatively, for those of you who have neither the advanced functions nor the calculus, or potentially your marks aren't where you think they should be to reflect your abilities, we have something that's referred to as an alternative admissions pathway. And the alternative admissions pathway says, you've got a story to tell us, something about your experience that is not being reflected in your grades. Your grades don't tell us whom you are. You're something special and the grades aren't showing us that. Tell us your story. You're going to write a personal statement essay under the alternative admissions pathway. You're going to then, if your personal statement essay does convince us that there's some spark there, we're then going to invite you for a virtual interview via video. And if those two line up and we like your story, we're going to offer you admission based on the alternative admissions pathway. So that's another way in. There are 3 possible ways to get into the business school. And this exists for both the BCom and the BIB. So I'll talk about both of those. Now, before I jump to the next slide, which is the BIB, Spencer, do you mind perhaps putting up the second poll, which asks whether people are interested in the Bachelor of Commerce, the Bachelor of International Business, or both? And looking at that, I see that most folks on the first poll are from Ontario, followed by other international. That's interesting. So we have one person from India. Welcome from India. The other international, I'm curious where that's from, but perhaps in the chat, we'll get to know you a little bit better. And then on the second poll, we'll see where everybody's most interested in. Let me jump to the BIB now and tell you a little bit about that one. So Bachelor of International Business, again, on the far right, you'll see it's the exact same bullet, save for the 92% employability, as opposed to the 93 that you saw with the BCom. Splitting hairs, I think they're both fairly close. And again, the 3 possible pathways in. The big difference between what you saw on the previous slide with the Bachelor of Commerce and now the Bachelor of International Business is, although in the first 2 years, you're still taking those core business fundamental courses, you're also being trained in a new language. And that new language would either be French, German, Japanese, Mandarin, or Spanish, as you see off on the left. That's in your first 2 years, along with your business courses. 3rd year, you pack your bags, you go abroad. Now, by the time you all get to 3rd year, we're going to be able to go abroad easily. In fact, many of our BIB students this September have actually been eligible to go abroad. So things have started to open up, and I'm convinced, hopefully beyond, that by the time we get to 3rd year, when you're all ready to go abroad, if you're in the BIB, everything will be open. We'll all be triple vaccinated. Everything will be fine, and the world will be fantastic once again. So in your third year, you then go abroad to, as you see, a location that matches the language that you studied. Okay. For example, if you studied French in your first 2 years, you could go to Belgium or France to study for your third year. Now I'm saying study, but you'll notice up at top that I have the second bullet that says that your year dedicated to study abroad and or internship. As of last year, we just set up a new pathway that allows students to pursue not only study abroad when they're not only studying when they're abroad, but potentially an internship when they go abroad as well. So you could either study for the 2 semesters at a school that we're partnered with, or study for 1 semester and intern for another at a pre-approved work term, or you can work for both terms at a pre-approved work designation. So that gives you an opportunity when you're abroad to get international work experience, which is also really cool. So for example, study French, off to France. In your first semester, for the sake of argument, you decide to do 1 semester of school in France, and the second semester you decide to do an internship working for, let's say, a French company in telecommunications, for the sake of argument, while you are there. That experience counts. You come back in 4th year, tie the whole thing up, finish up your 4th year courses, graduate, and then go on to bigger and better. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is that it's possible that some of you may already be fluent in one of these 5 languages. That doesn't restrict you. You do not have to learn a third language. I would strongly encourage you to learn as many languages as possible, because that just opens up so many more world's opportunities to you. But if you do not want to learn a third language, or you're really wanting to go to, for the sake of argument, Austria, and you're fluent in German, you can opt out. You can, in fact, test out of the language requirements. We would then create a bundle of courses on cultural awareness within the area that you'd be going to, that you'd be taking in lieu of those language courses. So that allows you to still go abroad to that country where you're already fluent in that language. And that's the other setup that we can allow you to do with regard to the BIB. So those are the 2 big differences between the programs. And then I think that takes me to my last slide. It does. So that's my last slide. And then I'm going to take a look, and I see that there are questions in the Q&A page here that I'm going to run through really quickly. And then what I'm going to do is, I think when we get to about 1 o'clock or 1:05, I'm then going to send you all back to the academics tab to find the Sprott rooms where we're going to have students, as I mentioned, along with myself, along with Rhonda and Allison and some other folks, where we could answer questions, perhaps one-on-one. So let me take a look at these unanswered questions. I'll run through those. And then there's a couple of things that I want Rhonda to address as we get to the end of this before everybody leaves, in terms of what other events we have coming up in the next month or 2. So firstly, I see, would it be possible to minor in political science while pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce? Absolutely. The only subjects that you cannot minor in are subjects where minors aren't offered. You can minor in anything outside of the business school, provided a minor exists. In some cases, there might not be a minor in, I'm just going to pick one, Irish studies, for example. I don't think we have a minor in Irish studies. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to do it in that, but you could do a minor certainly in areas that minors are offered. Computer science, perhaps an area of political science. I'm not sure if there's a minor in political science per se, but perhaps in a specific area of political science. And we can help you find that in the calendar in terms of what you might want to pursue. But minors outside of the faculty, no restrictions if those minors exist. I see somebody's asking about the upcoming business analytics. We're in the process. Thank you. I didn't mention that when I went through the slide. Let me just go back here really quickly so you could all see where that question is coming from. Whoops. I've got a coming soon on that 9th concentration, business analytics. We are in the process of bringing that business analytics concentration to one of the 8. So it'll be a 9th one, which says that in your third year, your 3rd and 4th year courses would now be focused more on the business analytics piece. So now you'd be dealing with building on perhaps some coding issues around Python, trying to understand big data, trying to make decisions from a marketing research or fintech perspective, or machine learning or artificial intelligence perspective, how to make business decisions using those analytical tools. And that will all be lined up by the time you all get here. That will all be lined up for your third or fourth year when you choose that concentration. And I hope that that helps answer that question. Next one down below, how do you get a CPA designation after getting the BCom? So to get a CPA designation in Canada, you need to do your professional education with the CPA Association in Ontario or in Canada, which requires 2 years worth of professional education post-grad. Once you graduate with a Bachelor of Commerce, you have to get 2 years of accounting education through the CPA. We have embedded within our structure a Master's of Accounting, which actually cuts that time in half, 1 year rather than 2. You do a BCom in accounting with Sprott. You then do a Master of Accounting in Sprott, and you've saved yourself 1 year towards the 2 years of professional education that you need in order to satisfy the CPA requirements. So instead of it taking you 6 years worth of study, it would take you 5 if you stayed with us and you got the Master's, and then on to the CPA. If you don't do the Master's, that's fine. You don't have to. You would then be required to do 2 years worth of the professional education program. What systems would business analytics cover? I mean, I guess from a systems perspective, when we're looking at business analytics, it could be anything. We're talking fairly broad. It would certainly introduce you to the world of SAP and Oracle and systems like that in terms of how businesses function and relate, but it introduces you most specifically to Python programming, APIs, elements that allow you to pull data to make decisions. The whole idea around business analytics is trying to figure out how we can use data to make business decisions. So I've got all this data out there. Where is it? Where can I pull it from? What can I do with it? And how do I make that decision? And I always like to think about it as, suppose I wanted to open up a store to attract as much retail traffic as possible, and I'm given 2 options on a street. I know that I'm near a bus stop for the sake of argument. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but this is pretty much how you could take it to the next level. When people get off the bus, do they normally turn left or do they normally turn right? Which way do they normally turn when they get off the bus? This particular stop, where is most traffic flowing for this particular stop? If I can get a sense of where most traffic is flowing, and I can do that through machine learning, I can do that through AI. If I can get a sense of that and I can pull that data through an API off of perhaps OC Transpo that provides that data to me, maybe it gives me a better indication of what side I want my store to be on. That's the first step. Very basic example, and you could extend that to many more things, but that hopefully gives you a sense of where this might go. SAP training is not part of our curriculum. No, we don't train. Typically, universities do not train towards specific programs. It's far more appropriate for a university student to understand how programs themselves can be used rather than being trained to a program. Typically, colleges will focus on specific training. So if you're looking for training in a specific language, if you're looking for training in a specific operating system or in a specific, let's say, overall business system, then there would be college opportunities for that. If you want to become an SAP tech, university is not where you would be getting that. That would be college. So that's something that you might want to explore there. Alternatively, having a broad understanding of how systems work allows you to then be popped into a situation regardless of the system that they're using and understand the concept. And I'll give you an example. I have never used AirMeet before until about 15 minutes ago, but I've used many other similar platforms. I've used Zoom, I've used Teams, I've used Brazen, all sorts of things. It becomes quite easy to figure out how to use something if you understand the system. And I hope that that helps. Courses in the entrepreneurship concentration. Certainly, you start off with ideation. How do you figure out whether something like this is even going to make sense? What's your idea? How do you even think about coming up with an idea? Where's that hole? What are you trying to fill? How do you build a team around that hole? How do you find the resources to support that team? Whom do you need on your team? Do you need legal? Do you need accounting? Do you need marketing? Do you need sales? What do you need? What are you trying to do? Build a business plan. You need to get money. Who's going to fund this? Who's going to be your venture capitalist? Build that business plan. We'll help you build that business plan. Then try to take this product to market. How do you take it to market? What market are we talking about? Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, the world? Where? Where should it go? What's it for? What's it trying? What hole is it trying to fill? And that's, I guess, again, on a very basic intro form, that's where entrepreneurship can take you. Is it possible to do a double major in commerce and another program? No, programs are unique. You can only graduate from one program. You can get elements within a program. So you could have a Bachelor of Commerce along with minors, but you cannot have two bachelors. So a program would be a Bachelor of Commerce and a Bachelor of Political Science, for example. You can't have both of those. You would have to do two separate degrees. Fundamental areas have been, so the next one, would we do courses in the fundamental areas of business, then pick a concentration, or could we pick a concentration beforehand? And the answer is either. You could do the concentration beforehand on your application, or you could pick a concentration after you've taken those courses. It doesn't matter which way you go through the process. Many students will pick a concentration first, and then in all likelihood remain in that concentration if they so like it, or switch after first or second year, as I mentioned, on the third floor of the Nickel building. Now, minor in business. For those of you who remember I mentioned minors that you would take outside of the faculty, it may very well be that some of you in the room today aren't necessarily interested in a Bachelor of Commerce or a Bachelor of International Business. You're interested perhaps in a Bachelor of Music or a Bachelor of Engineering or a Bachelor of Science and Biology or whatever that might be. Well, guess what? From that side of the fence, you can take a minor in business. So you can add the minor in business to your bachelor outside of the business school. It goes both ways. You could either do a minor outside of business if you're getting a business degree, or a minor in business if you're outside of business getting a non-business degree. And then where are we? Let's see. Please speak about the computer science with a business stream program. So again, if you were to take a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and wanted to do a minor in business, that's a possibility. You would be able to add business courses to your Bachelor of Science, Computer Science. You could similarly do the flip, where you can do a Bachelor of Commerce along with a minor in Computer Science. The only issue that I need to mention with regard to minors is that sometimes you do need to have certain grades to get into the minors, and sometimes they are limited in terms of entry. Computer science, as you can imagine, has been incredibly popular of late, and many students have been trying to get into the minors, so it's restricted in terms of who's allowed into what. On the business side as well, our courses fill up fairly quickly too, so students outside of business do not have priority into the business courses the same way business students would, and that gets a little bit tricky. How does the Alumni Network connect to the co-op experiences and internships? So in that regard, we have a very, very elaborate alumni network. Our alumni network is constantly involved with our Career Management Center, which is exclusive to Sprott students. Only Sprott students gain access to our Career Management Center. And those Sprott students would meet with those who have graduated from Carleton and are gainfully employed elsewhere, looking to hire new Sprott students. And the networking capabilities of the alumni network become huge in that regard. So through our info sessions, through our career sessions with the Career Management Center, you would have access to all of our alumni who actually participate in that. And then going here, I see one more unanswered. Oh, and here I see somebody who's enjoying the answers. That's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm really happy to hear that your first son loved his experience here. And I do look forward to being introduced to your second son. I have two boys as well. And here's a question from Alika. Is there a supplementary application? Now, Alika, on the screen, you'll see, this is for the BCom. It holds for the BIB as well. The box to your right talks about 3 possible ways in. You can either apply just with grades if your grades are strong enough with 4U math, 4U English, advanced functions, and calculus. Or alternatively, if you don't have calculus, there's an option where you would take calculus with us in your first semester, and if you're successful, you continue on. Or there would be a supplemental application if indeed you needed to tell us a little bit about yourself that wasn't reflected in your marks. So there are 3 possible ways, the last of those 3 requiring a supplemental application. And it looks to me as though I'm seeing lots of green answers. So what I'm going to do now is ask Rhonda to just very quickly convey to you all, before we jump to the next rooms, convey to you all what else we have coming up in the next month or so in terms of our Friday tours, gaining access to campus, seeing us in other venues, perhaps a little bit more personalized. So Rhonda, your first year advisor, over to you, please.
Thanks, Howard. Yeah, so as Howard mentioned, we do have some in-person opportunities on Friday afternoons. So you can come for a tour of the Nickel building, and then we can have a quick Q&A afterwards. We've got students there who are taking you through the building. So that's every Friday in November, and you can find that on our Sprott events calendar. As well, in December, we'll have an opportunity on a Saturday to come and visit and to hear Howard speak again. And we'll have students there speaking about our program. And again, you can take a Carleton tour that time, as well as a Nickel building tour. So there will be all kinds of upcoming events. We'll have live chats as well, where you can join us for typically a very intimate conversation with students, as well as Howard and myself will attend those sessions. And for anybody who wants to reach out directly to me, rhonda.kelly@carleton.ca, I'm always happy to answer and to connect with you. So excellent. Please join us. And there'll be more events come the winter term as well.
And before we close, again, and I can't see the chat, the Q&A, and I don't know if, Rhonda, you put your email there so that everybody can get access to that. Great. There is one other question that's actually in the chat rather than the Q&A, and I just wanted to address that before we jump over to the other sessions. And that is the academic support that's offered to students within the Bachelor of Commerce. So we have academic support that's offered to all students at Sprott. So internally, there's obviously external support outside of Sprott, but within Sprott, we have dedicated support on a number of fronts. On the one hand, we have academic support in terms of academic guidance, helping you choose your program, choose your concentration within your program, making sure that you understand where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you need to improve at, so on and so forth, by working with our dedicated student success officer. So we have a student success officer just for Sprott students. We have advisors, academic advisors just for Bachelor of Commerce students, academic advisors just for Bachelor of International Business students. We have, you're looking at her, your first year advisor for Sprott students, just for Sprott students. The first year advisor is the person who helps you integrate and transfer into a new system, understanding how everything works. And that's Rhonda. And she's absolutely amazing at what she does in getting you all set up for an amazing first year. We have a dedicated career services center that is exclusive to Sprott students, BCom and BIB alike. So all of those services are just for commerce students. You walk in, you get an appointment, we guide you through. We do everything we can to find your shining light. What makes you tick? What makes you go? And we're going to help you pull that out. Outside of Sprott, we also have services that are offered to the university community in terms of mental health issues, mental health concerns, whatever those might be, with regard to if you have an IEP at high school, for example, and you need maybe extra time on an exam, those types of things. Those are all available for you out of the business school, but certainly throughout the campus. And we refer to that as the Paul Menton Center. And that deals with all sorts of disabilities that may be limiting your access to a particular course or a particular stream of courses, depending on what that disability may be. So that's all set up for you as well. I also want to mention, speaking of disability, Carleton is, for those of you who happen to be physically disabled, Carleton has a brilliant tunnel system throughout the entire university that lets you get anywhere with amazing ease. Through the winter, through the summer, it doesn't matter. It is the most accessibly aware campus that I've ever come across. not only on the physical handicap side, but also on the mental health side as well. So I do encourage any of you who may have any questions or concerns to follow up with us in that as well. And with that, I see that there's one more question in the Q&A that I will hit before we jump over, Rhonda, if that's okay. And yes, we are doing early acceptances based on grade 11. So if you've got yourself some great grade 11 marks, you may hear from us in December. So hopefully that all works for everybody. Now, again, once we are no longer live, go back to the academics tab, click on academics, scroll down to Sprott. You'll find, I believe, a Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of International Business room. And Rhonda and I will be there along with some other folks to answer some more questions should you have any. Excellent. With that, thank you for spending an amazing not quite a half hour, 42 minutes with us. And I look forward to seeing hopefully most of you in the 2 rooms on the breakout. Thanks again for joining us.